You want to test it?
Testing.
Yeah.
All right, good morning.
Here, Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We are thrilled to have so many people here in attendance. I was just telling one of my table mates, I don't think I can ever remember a time people have been so excited to go to an annual meeting. So it's wonderful to see so many people here. You know, we've obviously been through a really unprecedented period of time, and having people back in person is fabulous. We are fortunate to live in the great, those of us who live in the great state of Iowa, to work here, to have had, you know, state leadership that certainly helped us, but we also are incredibly fortunate to have just a tremendous team running DDP for us, and the involvement of all of you has just made for an amazing comeback for downtown Davenport. So I'm going to introduce Kyle Carter here, who is going to lead us through the last year, and
oh, thanks, Kelly. So big thank you to Kelly and Brad Martell, who couldn't be here today. He is our outgoing chairman. It's been a wild year, as you might imagine, but it's our board members who make all this possible. So our outgoing member of the year, Mike Poster, who has been with us for many, many years, I just want to say a big thank you to Mike. He has been just a rock for our board over the years on financial things, and just been he was a chairman of our past as well. So Mike, thank you for being here today, and thank you for all you've contributed. And we also have outgoing members Don Leonard and Tom Taronas, who've been awesome members too, whose terms were just up. So I'm sure we'll see all of these individuals around downtown. Our new incoming chairman, Kyle Day, is with us today. And Gwendolyn is also here, I think. I saw her a minute ago. They will be joining our next year's board as leaders of the executive committee. So thank you guys, and thanks to the whole board. Please give a round of applause for everybody's many volunteer hours. So most of the folks in the room have met me at this stage of my life. For those who don't, I'm Kyle Carter, Executive Director of the Downtown Davenport Partnership. I've been with the Chamber of Commerce in all of its iterations now for 16 years. And it's been an awesome and wild ride, and one that I wouldn't trade for anything. It's been really fun to be a part of this. And so today we're going to go through and talk a little bit about the overview of who we are and what we do for those of you who are new in the room. We'll talk a little bit about the headlines of the stuff that I know is pressing and right at the top of your concern list. And then we'll talk about the recap and kind of what's around the corner in the future here. Oop, wrong button. So for those who don't know, the Downtown Partnership is an affiliate of the Chamber. So we live under that umbrella, and it's a regional chamber for a reason, because we're all in this boat together. But what's unique about what we do is place management and place making. And so our role is to really help define what makes us unique in the world. What is special about the Quad Cities? What is special specifically about downtown Davenport? And how do we present that to the world and make this a place that you actually want to live, work, play, visit? But that takes a process, and that's what place management really is. So this is kind of industry lingo about what we actually do. And so for those who don't know, that falls into three big categories. So we have business and economic growth, we have infrastructure and livability, and advocacy and promotion. Those three buckets basically define anything and everything that we do. We touch a little of these more so than others, but it's everything from the flower baskets to a festival to economic development and business recruitment, down to the very granular level stuff of, hey, there's a stoplight that's not working, somebody do something about that, call the city and get in touch. So we're a conduit to anything and everything that happens down here. So organizations like ours, and place management specifically, is a really important thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but on that prior slide you saw the words Quad Cities Community Partnership, which is a new legal entity that we created to help manage not just downtown Davenport, but other neighborhoods throughout the region. And I'll get to that at the very end of the meeting as well. So we are a taxing district. The good people in this room pay our existence. Our goal is to take all the funds that you have so generously given to better everyone. Our goal is to really take that and move the needle across the board to make downtown better, and that district is what you see here. We have two zones. to the self-supporting municipal improvement districts, as they are known. And these are the areas that contribute to the Downtown Partnership's bottom line and gives us our ability to do all the work that we do for you on a given day. So who runs this thing? Well, there's a lot of great staff. I couldn't even begin to do the work without a huge army of people behind us. So not only do we have the entire chamber family behind us, the immediate Downtown Partnership family of Alicia, Jason, and Tony really are the difference makers. Without them, this wheel doesn't turn, and without these guys, the wheel doesn't turn either. Our great ambassadors are in the back corner over here in the neon green shirts, and we also recently added 2 new hospitality ambassadors. So we're renaming the whole program to basically just be ambassadors. So we have our cleaning crews out there that are taking care of the flowers and maintenance, and then we have Emily and Omar who have joined us, who have just been wonderful additions to the team that have really made a difference in engaging with our businesses, our residents, on street level, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But can we give a big round of applause for all the guys that do the hard work out there? So thank you, and guys, we really sincerely appreciate the hard work, and it looks great out there. Flower baskets are as good as they've ever looked out there this year. So as far as how this machine runs, we have our annual income. We usually hover around the 1.2, 1.3 million range. We actually crawled more toward 1.5 this year as a direct result of how well Rhythm City did. As many of you know who have been with us for a long time, Rhythm City made a commitment to downtown Davenport many, many moons ago when gaming first began. They continued that commitment when they moved up the hill, and we are very, very appreciative of that. As you can see, they contribute a lot to this, and so because the casino did so well this year, we saw a little bit more revenue than we normally would. So we won't go into great detail, but it's the expense side of things. We had a good year overall, and we were able to pivot like so many other businesses in this room this year to make sure that the bottom line looked good. We have a healthy bottom line, and it turned out well. The other piece of this, of course, is the capital side of things. Everybody loves to talk about the stuff that we build. So these slides are here mostly so that later you can do the deep dive through them. We're not going to go through a half-hour finance meeting, but we wanted to make sure that you guys could see the breakdown of where these projects went, whether it was facade, streetscape, interior, and we'll talk to more of that as we go through this presentation. So where are we today? This is hopefully the resurgence of where we finally put COVID behind us, and I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to see all of you in person in this room today. It's a different kind of energy. I can feel the vibe. We've already seen bars and restaurants start to fill back up. Our offices are starting to fill back up, and it's different, and it probably will be forever. We'll speak to that more later in the meeting, but at the end of the day, I think that we can all agree that this is the year for us to bounce back, and I think we're very well poised for that. So what have we been doing with all this? Of course, COVID is the story of the day. We had started in survival and stabilization mode. I can still remember last year when we were having this meeting virtually, where all of us were collectively panicking, having absolutely no idea how our businesses were going to survive. What's the federal government going to do? What's the local government going to do? What am I going to do? And I know each one of you had that conversation both with your business colleagues and yourself. Thankfully, I think we can say that we've actually moved into phase 3, where we're seriously looking at recovery and growth. We had the technical assistance, the federal grants and local grants came out. We've all fought, pivoted, twisted, turned. I have seen more creativity in this room than we could have ever imagined to deal with this and get to the other side. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure we highlighted was the amazing resiliency, the creativity of all of our small businesses, because downtown Davenport is almost exclusively local. When people say support local business, from even our larger businesses like Dividos all the way down to our retail businesses, these are people that live here. These are dollars that stay in our economy. And if you look at what these did, Armour Gardens reinvented its entire layout to be COVID friendly. You see, I think it was Fran there with me and Billy's, that they started doing digital menus, and I know Front Street and others did that. We saw people go online that had never been online before. Patios started sprouting out of nowhere. The city relaxed its rules on letting people get out onto the sidewalks. It was a team effort, and without this level of creativity, we wouldn't have got probably to the other side. We barely lost any businesses, and that's a testament to those of you in this room and how hard you worked. So another highlight reel, of course, is 2019 wasn't that long ago. And all of you know that this isn't a one-year punch in the face that you all got. It was a 2-year punch in the face that you all got. The good news is that the city of Davenport has done an extraordinary job working with HR Green. These are the engineers that worked out of Cedar Rapids who brought forth some very concrete ideas about long-term flood protection, how you actually do that, where you build it, where you don't. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It never will be. If we can walk away from today with anything regarding flooding, I hope it's that you all realize how unique every corridor is of our 9 miles and how it's going to need a different solution in each part. Sometimes it's water coming up, sometimes it's water coming below. And the nice thing about this study is how thorough it was. So this fall, the City Council is going to have to actually look into the details and start to make financial decisions about where those first investments go to make the best impact for the least amount, I'm sure. And so we're looking at, where can we raise River Drive? Where can we get things done underground so that maybe downtown's not cut off from a flood until 22 feet or 21 feet instead of 16 or 17 feet. There's so much that we can accomplish. So we are very eager to have this conversation with City Hall. They're doing a great job with it, and we are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were 2 years ago with this issue. It will take many years. It will be very complicated, but I think this roadmap that we've been presented and that will be finalized this fall is exactly what this community has been waiting for, because it balances our need to use the riverfront for it to be beautiful and attractive and part of our tourism, but it also has the reality of it's got to work, and it has to work and protect the investments that all of you have made in this room, so that 20 years from now we're talking about how it's grown and not how we've moved backwards. So kudos to the city on that, and you'll hear plenty more about this down the road. So what else is up the highlight reel is the new master plan. So we'll talk in depth about this in a few minutes, but I want to give credit to Alicia Espy, who led this project here, the city of Davenport, who voted and approved this plan and accepted this plan. We know that that doesn't mean that everything in it is going to get done. It's up to everyone in this room to advocate and fight for our vision. But the vision is great. Alicia did a wonderful job with our team at WXY out of New York that really guided our process. And we'll touch base on the details on that soon. But this is a big deal and one that we're deeply proud of. So the other highlight reel element that I know I don't want on the highlight reel, but is a reality of what we need to talk about, is public safety. It's no secret that there's been gun violence around the entire region. This is not just a Davenport problem, and it's certainly not just a downtown issue. There's been federal and state assistance. I think the mayor has done a fine job reaching out to get more help. We'll talk more about our hospitality program and how it links to this, but it is not a solution to this necessarily. Looking at private security options, parking ramp infrastructure, lighting. There's a lot of things that we can do. So this is not a problem we solve on our own. This is a team effort. This is a region effort. This is a city, private, government, you name it. All hands on deck to be able to deal with these issues. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I don't want to stand up here and act like it's all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. I get it. There are problems that we still need to deal with. But the good news is we got a lot of good news, and that's where I'm going next. So with business and economic growth, we, as we've talked about, had 2 absolutely brutal years of environmental issues that were beyond our control, whether it was flooding, COVID, derechos, fires, I mean, you name it, we saw it. So despite that, we built $27 million worth of projects in this past June to July calendar year, or not calendar year, but fiscal year. There's $49 million more under construction as we speak, and there's 57 plus that is in the hopper that are planned projects. They may not be fully public yet, but they're real things that are waiting financing, et cetera. So since 2000, which is when I think we can all agree that the Renaissance really began down here, we're pushing $627 million, and that's largely private. There's some public sprinkled into that. If we added all of the public infrastructure dollars, I know there was at least 10 or 15 million alone spent on sewers in our vicinity downtown, not included in these numbers. So there's been a massive amount of investment in this downtown, and we should be very proud of the fact that, considering all that you've dealt with and all that we've done, these numbers are spectacular with where we've gone. And so back to the long view, this isn't even that long. This is only back to 2010. The investments that we make downtown pay off for the entire community. This is an example of the value of downtown over the last 10 years and how much it's grown. from 109 to 176 million, and it's bigger than that now. This is a little dated on its data. That's amazing. So when people say, you know, well, I don't live there, or I don't go downtown, well, guess what? Your property taxes are only X because of the value that we generate down here. This is one of the highest producing zip codes in the city. So it's incredibly important. The work that you do is not just beneficial to us in our little bubble, but the entire Quad Cities economy, and most especially Davenport. So this is something that everyone in here should also feel really good about. So a couple of other good news stories. We had of that 28 million, these are the 14 projects that built that. So we had everything from, like Stompbox Brewery, Miss Bay Cafe did a huge build out. The Radisson, I don't know if anybody's been in the Radisson lately, you wouldn't recognize it. Massive renovation, it's beautiful. We saw the YMCA, which is like the headliner development of the year. That is an incredible amount of investment on that east end corner that we have been talking about in this room for many, many years. And it's real, and it happened just like we told you it would. So big kudos to Brad and that whole YMCA team for making that happen. And of course, Richard Arbitner, who we lost not that long ago, whose family contributed to make that possible as well, among many others. The library was redeveloped. Cookies and Dreams exploded this year. I don't know if you can't go anywhere and not see one of their cookies. So it was a great and mixed development. And of course, the Mid-American Tower as well. They saw a major redevelopment in there. Their offices look amazing, and that was a big investment as well. My favorite to talk about was the arrival of Dividos. And we just can't thank you guys enough for making the commitment down here. They brought hundreds of jobs. They're continuing to grow. They're at a breakneck pace of speed and growth, and they're all over the country. So this is a homegrown company that has expanded and grown out of the Quad Cities. So they're still in Moline. They've got fingers all over the place, but we're very proud to have them in downtown Davenport. So Mike and the gang, I want to say thank you, and we really appreciate that investment. Onward. So 30 retained, expanded businesses. So remember, this isn't a year that the sky fell and none of us knew whether or not we were going to have any money in our bank account. We opened 30 businesses in that window. That is awesome. So as you look through this list, you see a little bit of everything. Again, it's small business, it's big business, it's retail, it's restaurants. It's a good blend. And this actually superseded even my expectations of what we'd pull off this year. So if you think about it, I think in the flood we lost maybe 4 or 5 businesses. In COVID we lost about 4 or 5 as well. We added 30 just this year, and that doesn't include what was added in 19. We have net beat by far all of the challenges that have been put in front of us. So that's a great stat, and one that I think all these folks who are part of this, the fact that you all opened businesses this year is astonishing, and something that I think we should all remember for years to come. So what's under construction right now? We've got some exciting projects around the corner. Nobody could miss Urbane 210 on East 2nd Street. I know the construction's been a pain in the ass. I'm sorry. If you're on East 2nd Street, I'm sure you're tired of the road being closed, but it's almost done. And that's going to bring a retail corridor that we haven't had in decades down here. This area right here, they're going to be adding 3 or 4 retail bays that are small and great for entrepreneurs and retail businesses. We've got our traditional retail across the street, and we will finally have a true retail corridor with density and critical mass, something that I've been wanting to see for many, many years. We, of course, Daiquiri Factory completely gutted the old Shenanigans building. Kyle is a great dude that bought and is developing that building. And I mean, it's going to be a whole new project. Capitol Theater and the Call are underway. We still have 400 River, which you see going up over the Freight House, which is going to have amazing views and more new market rate housing that we need. And Davenport Bank, a lot of people don't know this one, but the top floor is getting renovated for apartments above the parking garage tied to the building. And then, of course, Cookies and Dreams Empire continues to grow as they're building out their distribution center. And then our good friend and incoming vice chairwoman, Gwendolyn, and her team with rubberstamps.net. If you'll recall, they were the folks that had an awful fire in Bettendorf and lost their business this winter. We were able to find them a temporary new home downtown, and they recently just purchased the former Mid-American building there on 3rd Street, the low-lying building there across from the Quad City Times for their forever home. And Gwendolyn, I'm so proud of you. That was brutal, and I think that will be a long-term home that we hope you love forever. So no shortage of good news, folks. There's still a lot, and that's what's being built, not what was built. So the 17 other pending projects that are around the corner. Our good buddies from the Raccoon Motel are hiding around here somewhere. I saw them come in this morning. We're really excited about the new version of that'll be opening on East 2nd Street. And my dear friends at Ragged Records and Trash Can Annie's will be opening immediately adjacent to them. If you'll recall, they were longtime downtown folks who lost their business during the flood. Then COVID happened. At the end of the day, East 2nd Street and the addition of these businesses, it's going to be better than what we had before. It's took a long time for us to get to that point where I could say that and really mean it. But I really, truly believe that. Our good buddies at Great River just called me yesterday, or Great Revivalists, excuse me, and they're continuing to get work on their financing so that they can get this up and going, but they just had a new design done, and they are still moving forward on that. Our friend, Mr. Rob Wolf, fans of American Pickers, it's the brother of the more famous, the less famous of the two brothers, bought the old Carl Cleve building, and there's an awesome new project that he's got going there that you'll hear more about soon. Toasted is the old little building here next to the Forest Block, which was vacant forever. This was a hidden gem that had been sitting around for years and years and years, and Bill Sheeter and the gang put a ton of money into that, and it's going to be like a brunch joint that will be open very, very soon. And then we'll talk more about K-Square in a minute, but Tapestry Farms is one that may have flown under your radar. At 3rd and Brown Street, I believe it's 3rd and Brown, there was some land there for many years that was underutilized. This gal works with refugees to teach farming and enable people to create income, build a network, that's an incredible nonprofit that deserves more attention, and we're happy that they're building out a home down here too. So there's a couple of others on there, but that's stuff that's on the horizon. So I mentioned earlier public infrastructure, millions of dollars. I know construction has sucked. We've had road closed, we've had water main breaks, we've had the internet that we're installing, which is great, except when there's holes in the ground that you can't drive around. So I know it's been a nightmare. We know it, we've heard it, but all that being said, most of it is starting to wrap up. A lot of the heavy-duty projects that the city and others have been doing are approaching a finish line, and so we desperately need this stuff. Our sewers are from the 1800s. It needed to happen. So as painful as this process has been, it's a necessary one, and one that we're grateful for, because I'd much rather get it fixed than be complaining that no one's fixing it. So we'll get there. The projects that are big and small, we kind of spoke to this. One of my favorite ones that are planned that I truly believe are going to happen, Martin Luther King Park. So the Friends of Martin Luther King at 5th and Brady had been working for many years to get that piece of land developed. If you didn't know, there's an interpretive center here at the foot of the apartment building adjacent to it. Dr. Ryan Sadler and many other people in that group have worked tirelessly to push this forward. We got a design done this year. It looks awesome. We're going to be raising money to get this thing built. It's critically important that it does get built, both for our community, for our cultural sake, and just because it's going to be a great spot to have an event. It's going to be a really good addition to what we have down here. We have still the bowstring lofts in the old flower department building there on West 2nd Street that's waiting for its tax credits. Again, Bill Sheeter and the team are looking at redeveloping the old Ragged Records and Trash Can Annie property into a new retail and new retail space, restaurant space, and residential space, which would be super cool off the bridge there. The historic Hiller building is still working on tax credits, and the big one up here is the building that would be adjacent to the YMCA, the new one, which is called the Yard, and that is a project that is almost to the point where it can get off the ground. And don't forget, of course, we have the old Riverwatch site still, the old Howard Johnson site. There's been some recent conversations about some new motion on that. There's some other folks that are interested in it, and we're trying to help move that along. There's a lot of engineering that needs to be done. It's a very difficult site to develop, but not impossible. And happy to say that there is some wheels turning on that, and we'll see where it goes. And you can never forget Modern Women Park, of course. More investment there is always good to have the #1 minor league baseball park in the United States. So what else have we been doing? We, as you might know, leverage a lot of investment into our private business owners who gave the money to us in the first place. We were able to leverage 5 new projects with facade improvements. Ruby's had an awesome patio. You'll see Daiquiri Factory there. Tag did a big interior improvement, and where Raccoon Motel, the old Abernathy space over here, was another recipient of that. We also, on the interior front, you'll see a few other projects that got done, but $55K in grants. We saw over $1 million go out the door on the private side as a result that was leveraged. And another cool thing that happened this year is we approved our 4th National Historic District downtown. Many people didn't know there were 3 other ones probably, but now basically every square inch of downtown is on a historic district of some kind. And a lot of people get heartburn about that. They worry about, what does that mean? Can I not, is my window's going to triple in price? No, they won't. The city of Davenport has long had a design review process that hasn't changed. The same rules remain, but what you can take advantage of is historic tax credits. So there's a whole process now that is available for if you're a contributing building in a district, you qualify for dollars that you wouldn't otherwise. And so happy to do a deep dive with you on this anytime. You're welcome to call me and we can walk you through how you go about doing that and taking advantage of it. But this is a big deal and something that we worked for several years. So happy to see that growth and add another notch on our belt for historic districts. So under the infrastructure and livability category, we have a lot of housing still. Over 233 units are under construction. There's a pretty good balance between market rate and affordable units that are being built. Still more planned that may get built and are in the planning stages. But our occupancy was down. It took a hit from the flood, took a hit from COVID. However, it's been climbing again. And I just talked to someone 5 minutes before this meeting who mentioned that they have climbed back up to their pre-COVID and pre-flood levels in their occupancy. I know that's not necessarily true for everybody, but I was really happy to hear that. And it's still great, still very good. Our occupancy is solid, but we were at like stratospheric levels before 2019, and it's leveled off, and it looks like it's going to find a better balance. And it's a mix of new construction and renovations. I mentioned 400 River, Urbane 210, getting new buildings out of the ground downtown is awesome to see, changing our skyline, in addition to renovations like Paul and others of historic properties. So back on the livability front, I mentioned earlier our good friends Emily and Omar who joined our team recently. This is a pilot project that was brought to you by Bechtel Trust and RDA. These folks are just out and about to make you feel better. They're there to give directions. They're there to interact with our businesses. They work with our social service partners. So when there are people experiencing homelessness downtown, we have a direct connection to Humility Homes. Chris Dunn is a member of that team whom they work with regularly, and there's a special place in heaven for that guy. He's amazing, and we couldn't be happier with how Humility has worked with us. The truth is there's a lot of different issues out there. Not all of them are actually related to homelessness. We have substance abuse issues, there's other mental illness issues that other social service partners deal with, but we're trying to build a bigger network of helping to mitigate that. And so the people who bump into this issue first many times are all of our ambassadors, whether they be the operations or the hospitality. So I want to be clear that these are not security guards. We have our good buddy hanging out down here, Mr. Sergeant Harris, who has also been just an absolute pleasure to work with throughout my career. He has stepped up, and the whole police department has been too, throughout these public safety issues we've had. Our crew reports things. They're eyes and ears. They are not the people who go and deal with the immediate issues. But the PD has been great lately, and I know you guys are stressed. You're down officers. We've never had it harder in this community, and we deeply appreciate what you do, so thank you for that. Yes. So one of our other, we mentioned Davenport Police, but back to the hospitality side of this, Visit Quad Cities is a huge partner in this. So we'll be doing more training and more work to get out there so that when you see us out on the street, these folks know what they're talking about, what's going on in the Quad Cities. And so again, this is a pilot project. We're tinkering with it. Right now, we just have 2 people that are working 30 hours a week each. We can't be everywhere all the time, but we want to see what works, what doesn't. But for the meantime, this has been a great launch, and very happy that the board approved this and that we're giving it a try thanks to some grant dollars there. So back to our operations ambassadors, this is the work you're more used to us doing. Graffiti removal, taking care of the plants. We, if you'll recall, got a new contract with the city of Davenport a couple of years ago that has been an awesome relationship. That enabled us to do parking ramp maintenance, skybridge cleaning, trash pickup in ways that we hadn't before. So our team grew, our capacity grew, and one of our new things that we listened to you on was snow removal. So again, you pay our bills. We exist because of you, and what you wanted was snow removal. So we adjusted our budget, we tinkered with it, we actually reduced some of the flowers a little bit and poured more money into snow removal. So while the city of Davenport is still the snow removal team overall, what Tony and his crew did this winter was incredible in that we had small vehicles that helped push the snow off the curb, pile it up in the parking lanes in individual spaces, and then the city trucks came, loaded those up, and took it away. For those of you who've been down here for a long time, that is a highly efficient system compared to what we have done in the past. We still have the nights where there's so much snow or ice that the big trucks just have to come through. But the scalpel approach that we took this last year really worked. So I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see us get better at working with the city, knowing where to pile the snow and where not to, and the labor force to be able to do that, and the budget and all of that. But this was something that you asked for that we did, and I thought it worked pretty darn well. Not that there isn't always room for improvement. But what else have they been doing? Everyone always asks me for more statistics. Well, there you have it. 317 cubic yards of trash were picked up this year. That's a lot of trash. Dog waste, hospitality assist, businesses engaged, graffiti removed. This is the stuff that if you don't hear about it, that means I'm doing my job. And these guys are doing their job because we want to tackle it before it's a complaint and before it's a problem. So thanks again to the crew for the hard work that they do, because if this wasn't going on, there'd be a lot of grumpy people in this room. So back to the Complete Streets big picture, we have been working behind the scenes with the city for many, many years to fix systemic problems with the system of how this stuff was built and who paid for it. We have worked diligently to solve those problems over the years, where we are now at the point where we are just building things. We upgraded all the light poles to LED. I hope you noticed it's way brighter down here, which is a safety issue as well. We finished the 100 block of East 3rd Street. 2nd Street on the south side will begin this fall. We even did a whole study underground to understand where the private power is versus the public grid and how we're going to hook that together over the next several years, which is mundane and nerdy as that sounds, is a big issue and one that many of you do care about as property owners down here. That is actually getting solved. We will be doing our first improvements on that this year. It'll take a while. It'll take years to get it all fixed, but now it's just doing it, picking it off. So those are, there's a picture of 3rd Street there, the brand new sidewalk. And don't forget, this also solves an ADA accessibility issue. One of the things we talk about is being a welcoming and inclusive community. Well, if your sidewalks aren't compliant and I can't roll a wheelchair into your business, that's not very welcoming. There's many reasons we do these, not just for trip hazards and not just to make it look pretty, but the ADA piece of this is very real and one that I think that this program doesn't get enough credit for solving. So what else is going on is Kaiserslautern Square. We've talked about this for years. It was a very underdeveloped park that was built in the 90s and needed some love. The city really stepped up. A lot of private donors stepped up. It's not quite finished. This is like at the 85% range, but we wanted to show all the progress over there. It looks awesome. It's been worth the work, and I can't wait to host our first concert here and to cut the ribbon, hopefully in July. So stay tuned for that. It's on the way. This was worth the effort, and it's looking spectacular. So on our final bucket of work, the advocacy and promotion work, we still have we had a visit from the governor talking about placemaking, as this community has led in that department for many years. We worked with the local government on getting COVID dollars into your pocket. We worked with the federal government, with the state government. We did this downtown snow removal we talked about, public safety advocacy. We are constantly in communication with City Hall or Des Moines, or even in this case, Washington, with how COVID all played out. So the chamber body as a whole was critical, especially with technical assistance this year. So the system worked, and I hope you guys appreciated all the work that was done behind the scenes on this stuff, because it did make a difference. But you guys work just as hard as we do. And so all of the different promotions that we ran this year with you guys were awesome. We launched 8 programs this year. We doubled our marketing budget. We did the gift card program. We had Cyber Monday, where we literally had staff deliver to people's houses products that were bought at retail stores downtown. Between Two Bridges, which was a great wink and a nod to a comedy show, if you know it. But we've done lots of interviews with our downtown businesses. All this stuff happened this year, and we're going to start and continue to do a lot of that. COVID created a lot of this, and I think some good ideas will last. And just a quick recap of the number of people who are following the downtown Facebook page, Instagram, et cetera. We still have a very large body of people that are part of our marketing team here. And of course, this year, we finally will have festivals again. So with Bix, we turned it on its head. We sat around as a board and said, well, if we represent the people in this room, how do we put more money in their pocket? Street Fest had been around forever. It was kind of tired. We knew that. And we wanted to make sure that we did something that put more money in your pockets. And so instead of DDP hosting the liquor license and selling the beer, we decided that we were going to work with this downtown that's grown over the last 20 years, that has grown to a point that the private businesses can host their own parties that we help with the logistics for and help with the marketing for. And so far, that's turned out great because we're going to expect 5 block parties during Bix weekend. We're thrilled about that. We launched a new event grant program to recruit maybe new people who haven't been at the table before. We see Mercado launched recently in the Quinlan Court area, which is another new public development that I haven't touched on much yet. There's a reason that we changed our strategy, and I think the board of directors was wise to do that, and we're going to see the fruits of that for the first time this summer. But if you recall, we did pull off one event this last year, and it was Ice Stravaganza. It was a blast. It was COVID friendly. We worked really hard to be able to do this in a responsible way. And we also started doing ice sculptures out in front of small businesses this year, which was a nice twist to that. So just a friendly reminder that we did at least pull one off in 2021. And right around the corner is Alternating Currents. So we have our favorite event that we created several years ago now that has comedy, art, music, everything. We have over 30 partners, I believe, in this, or like when you really add it up, and we have over 20 venues downtown. This thing could become our South by Southwest. That was always the dream. There's a gentleman in the room who said once upon a time that the name of this should have just started out as ACQC, and we didn't want to oversell it at the time because we're just not quite there yet. But someday, in the not too distant future, we hope that this is truly a region-wide event that downtown Davenport will always be the epicenter of, but that we can have our own true Austin-like event someday. So looking forward to that and appreciate all the people who partnered with us. So looking forward, back to kind of the master plan and the big idea and the vision of what's next, that master plan laid out 5 big categories of playful, connected, protected, livable, innovative, inclusive, and celebrated. The big one being that first one of, we spoke to the importance of flood protection, right? It's going to come back. We know that. We need to make sure that that is seriously addressed so that the rest of this can happen. We'll get into some more specifics of what each one of these mean here now. Catalytic projects underneath these categories, these are going to take years to pull off. If you dug through the document and you're like, wow, that's really hard, or hey, we haven't agreed to that yet, well, that's what the point of these documents is for. They're visionary. We need to work to get where we think we want to go. One of the big ones is this opportunity right here with the Ground Transportation Center site. It is a full gigantic square block with riverfront views. The station is aged out. It needs to be replaced. We have talked about alternate sites for a new and modern and better station. We've contemplated putting one at the old YMCA site, opening up this entire square block for development. There's massive value to unlock both at the private and public level here. And the truth is this station isn't serving its riders very well anymore either. So there's a lot of reasons to explore this. So this will be something that we're working closely with the city on to see what is our next steps and how do we do that, because there's many players involved. The EICC, the city obviously, the bus terminal, there's a lot of players there. But we've got to move the ball forward on that. We talked about flood protection, I think, enough at this point. We've seen other opportunities that are hiding in plain sight. The first floor of the Harrison ramp is empty. Many modern parking ramps have retail located throughout their first floors so that there's more activity and less places to just kind of hang out in spaces like that. So I think we're going to look at, are there ways that we can maybe build out that first floor of the Harrison ramp and add more opportunity for small business? And we also, if you look at this, there's the regional loop that was discussed of connecting Rock Island. How do we use our 3rd and 4th Street corridors to better tie to our neighborhoods across the river? And then our forgotten park. You have Lafayette Park over here at 4th and Gaines. It has so much potential. The WXY did a great job dreaming up ways in which we could really amp that place up. And I know that one's longer term and we got a lot of other priorities, but Lafayette Park could connect to the west end, it could connect to the neighborhoods to our north, it could be a beacon of connectivity to the rest of our community that today I think is deeply underutilized. So some other things that we want to challenge ourselves to do is be a more inclusive and welcoming business ecosystem. Right now, we are going to launch a new grant program in this fiscal year that is geared toward getting businesses off the ground in downtown Davenport, but specifically doing outreach to minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. How do we find people who haven't found us before? And who do we got to work with? The Chamber, Mercado, SBDC, SCORE. The Chamber Economic Development team is doing such a good job of mapping out all of our assets, but now we've got to put the rubber on the road. We actually have to do it. And so DDP's role in that will be a slice of the pie, but we got a lot of work to bring all these people and start running them in the same direction. And that's something that our master plan prioritizes. So on that equity and inclusion theme, there's a lot of other ways that that happens. We talked about Martin Luther King Park, but public art, events. How do we recruit people that maybe aren't down here and don't feel welcome here? How can we change the public landscape in a way that when you pull in, you see something and say, oh, the folks that are from this place have thought about this and make me want to be a part of it. So we've got work to do there. And again, activating those public spaces. Quinlan Court, K Square, all of the riverfront, all the different little pockets. The Skybridge Courtyard, which if you'll notice, there's a little detail in there that says Ellis Kell Courtyard. There's a really great design that was done to add a permanent stage into that Skybridge Courtyard in remembrance of Ellis and what he did with RME. That's not in the budget. It's another one of those we'll get theirs, but there are so many ways that we can more activate our spaces, and that's a great example of one just like these. So we have immediate actions, medium and long-term goals. It's a litany of bullet points that I will not make you suffer through, but please go to our website. Go to downtowndavenport.com, check it out, take the time to flip through the document. It's very specific, it's not vague, it actually gives great action points, and many of them we've talked about today. So as I start to wrap up here, I want to pull back the lens a little bit. We talked and opened up with placemaking, place management. What does that mean? Who does it? Well, we do it, and right now we're doing it in Bettendorf. My good colleague Ryan Jancy's in the room in downtown Bettendorf. Jack couldn't be here today, but he's looking to launch an organization like DDP in Rock Island. And right now we are in the process of that, but he is a chamber staffer who is building that structure right now. I have two hats now, for those who don't know. I wear a hat that's called Vice President of Regional Place Management. So I am essentially the life coach to my friends in these other areas. And yes, technically they report to me, but everybody's still got their own board of directors, just like DDP. Rock Island will have its own board, Bettendorf will have its own board. They have their own money, they make their own decisions. It lives in the chamber umbrella so that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, and we can actually collaborate and coordinate in a more efficient way. This doesn't mean that people are making decisions for people that aren't the immediate stakeholders. It means we're not doing dumb things that one place is doing, and just because they're not talking to each other, we repeat a mistake, or somebody builds a pool and then finds out 6 months later, oh, we budgeted to build a pool. So think of it more as the ability for us to cooperate efficiently and less of any kind of problematic aspect of it. That the Quad Cities Community Partnership, that legal entity that the Chamber created this year, is the tool that separates all of our money and authority. So there's different buckets that basically maintain the independence of each group while having the unity of singular management. And so it's a lot of words that I just threw at you there, but this is stuff that we have been talking about for decades. I have documents in my desk from 1952 that talk about there should really be one chamber of commerce. Why do we have 9? Well, we pulled it off in 2010, so it took a while, but we got there. This is a similar concept where you just talk. We've talked about it forever, and we finally have, I think, a model that can be implemented for the willing. And that's the best part, is no one's grabbing anybody's arm and putting them in a headlock. It's literally, hey, you want to be part of the team? Great. Here's a model. You like what you got? Awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you want it, here it is. And we've never had that before. So I think this is a great opportunity for growth, and one that so far so good has really worked. So I will close on this. I have this in every slide. If you've been coming for a long time, I have this in every single presentation because I think it does such a good job of summarizing why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing, and why you invest specifically in downtown Davenport. Because but for this statement, you could be anywhere in the Quad Cities. You could be anywhere on any street, but here it's special and it's different. You have seen a pandemic. You have seen a flood. Your businesses have been threatened. Your livelihoods and families were challenged in the last 2 years. We've seen a derecho. We've seen fires. We've seen 2 polar vortexes. And yet, here we are. And I think it's this binding us together that put all of you in this room and got you through to the other side of this and enabled us to not just survive, but do all of the incredible good that you just saw today. So thank you. I appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you guys. I want to give a special note here. Many of you don't know that I am about to have a child with my wife, Maureen. We are due in 3.5 weeks. I will, thanks. So I will be out of pocket for a little while. Alicia Espy, who has been my right hand and colleague for many years, she'll be running the show. She is more than capable. You guys are in great hands. Many of you know the secret that she really runs the machine behind the scenes. So Alicia is, like I said, more than capable, and you guys are, please reach out to her during that window of time. Of course, we're due Bix weekend, because why wouldn't we be due Bix weekend? Yeah, right? Very appropriate. But our team is so strong. We have the whole chamber team. We've got Alicia to be point while I'm out. So I will just close on, I could not be more proud to represent you in this room. I've always enjoyed this work. It has been brutal the last 2 years. I have been on empty. I know many of you have been on empty because it's been thing after thing after thing, whether it's gun violence or floods or whatever. But here we are. You know, we're still, not only are we still standing, I think we're standing strong. So thank you for all that you do. And hopefully next year we have more good news to share. And until next time, thank you. Thanks. Use the